And I said, I never thought that I would get my son back in a body bag. That wasn't his sentence.
Lisa Garcia says she's just a mom who loved her son and stood by him as moms do. He was Brandon Peters, and he was 43 when he died last year in the Georgia State Prison in Reidsville.
But his cellmate told me that he had been sick for about 4 or 5 days, and they had been trying to get him some help, and nobody would listen to him.
Garcia says she visited Brandon on a regular basis at the prison, but that all stopped when COVID hit. She hadn't seen him for more than a year when she got a phone call early in the morning.
On November the 23rd, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. It was on a Monday morning that I got the call from the warden. Just, I don't know. It was just the way he did it. I'll never forget his tone and his voice. I mean, it's just like he makes them calls all the time, you know, no big deal. Just wanted to let you know you found your son unresponsive this morning. And I was like, what? I mean, I had to go get my son, my other son, because I couldn't hear nothing. When he said that, I couldn't hear nothing else. Because I never thought in a million years that I would have to go through that.
Almost a year after his death, she says she doesn't know what happened except that he was sick, throwing up, and losing weight.
When I seen him in that casket, I just couldn't believe it.
In terms of how much weight he had lost? You don't know what he died of?
Mm-mm.
Almost a year?
Almost a year. Yes, ma'am.
You don't have the autopsy results?
Mm-mm.
The death certificate says an autopsy was performed, but the family says it was never told the results. It also lists the cause of death as pending investigation. All Garcia knows is Brandon died in the cell.
His cellmate said that he had been laying there on the floor, dead, for like, what did he say, 6 or 7 hours. And he had to flood the cell and start a fire in his cell to even get them to come and get his body out of the cell.
Garcia knows some people may not feel compassion for her son, who was incarcerated on charges of robbery and aggravated assault.
He needed punishment, but locking him up that way and him being treated that way, that was not punishment. I mean, it's inhumane. I mean, animal shelters treat their animals better than them prisoners get treated.
On the website of the Human Rights Coalition of Georgia, there are pictures of food from prison facilities. On that same website, there's also this recent video from Reidsville, apparently taped by an inmate with a smuggled-in cell phone. Garcia says Brandon had actually volunteered for what's called the TIER program, which takes prisoners out of the general population and keeps them in confinement most of the time.
Yes, he was very scared for his life against the inmates. Not, you know, he never dreamed he'd get sick and die. He thought that he would, if anything, he'd get killed by another inmate.
It's that irony that causes Garcia even more pain because she feels her son's death was avoidable. So does her attorney.
At this point, we've sent a notice to the Department of Corrections and the state of Georgia notifying them of a potential claim arising out of the lack of care, treatment, medical assistance, and then the ensuing wrongful death of her son.
But this is the best picture of him.
Garcia put angel wings in Brandon's funeral picture, but she knows he was just a man who had made mistakes, serious mistakes. But she says he had been serving his time since 2013, and if he had lived, that Brandon would have been eligible for parole next month.
This should not have happened, and it's not okay. It's not okay, and I don't want them to think that it is. My son's life was precious to me.
She says Brandon was more than a number. Like every prisoner incarcerated, he was someone's family. And in terms of Reidsville,
my son called it hell. He said it's hell on earth.
Joanne Narrigan, WSAV News 3 on your side.